Hello everybody, I'm Krishna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we will look at how Fuji X100V fares for street photography. Fujifilm has got a huge cult following because of the retro look that they have and the physical buttons that they provide. It takes the photographer back to the olden days of the film cameras. The attention to detail and the design effort that they have put is what brings in a lot of photographers to the Fuji film world. The X100V has a fixed prime lens which you cannot change, and the compact design of this allows you to take street photography discreetly. And instead of this color, if you're going for a complete black color, it makes the camera a lot more discreet. And because of the size and because it is not very big, you can discreetly keep taking snaps and not a lot of people would notice. The design of this camera is so beautiful that it compels you to take the camera out every time that you go. If you like Apple products, what Apple is to smartphones is Fujifilm's to cameras. So this is the Fuji X100V. It comes with a fixed prime lens with a focal length of 23 mm, which is a full frame equivalent of 35 mm. So this gives you a very good field of view for street photography, so wider than what a human eye can see. So you can use this to capture the context in which your subject is there, which is one of the reasons why many people use this camera for street photography too. And because it is a prime lens, it is compact and you get very sharp images. And this is the focus ring, and then you've got the aperture ring here, so you can change the aperture through this ring. And you have the dials, so this is for shutter speed, and if you raise this and then turn, this is for the ISO. And then you have the exposure compensation dial, and then you have a viewfinder here. You can use it as an optical viewfinder or as an electronic viewfinder. And this screen is a tilt screen, so this is another very good reason for you to use this for street photography, because you can actually put the screen horizontal and shoot from the hip level, so it would not be very conspicuous, so it would not appear as if you're taking a photo and attract unnecessary attention. So you can just look through the screen at your hip level and then see what you're shooting, and then you can do the needful. You have a quick menu here through which you can customize. I will not go through each of the details of each of these buttons for the simple fact you have a lot of videos out there with this information. If you want me to cover anything specific, you can give the comments in the video, and then I will definitely follow up on the comments. So typically for the street photography, what I do is I put the aperture at f8 because it gives me a good depth of field, and it also helps me in focusing. I will tell you in a bit how it helps. I usually put the shutter speed between 125 to 250 so that I can freeze the motion. The ISO, I put it to auto or the custom. I put it to auto when I am not very sure about the light conditions and if there is a lot of changing light conditions. where the sun gets into the cloud, comes out, and etc. Or I keep walking into different alleys. If I am not sure about what exposure that I need to have, then I put it in auto. Otherwise, if I am sure as to what kind of an image that I want to capture, for example, if I want to have dark shadows and on one end of the spectrum and bright areas on the other end, then I usually put in custom, and then I set up the ISO according to the situation. So because my aperture is controlled by me, the shutter speed and the ISO, because all the three are in my control in manual, I don't have any use of the exposure compensation. However, if I am putting ISO in auto, and then I do use the exposure compensation to control how my subject should be, whether it should be in highlight or whether it should be in the dark. On the focusing part, I put it in manual. The reason that I put it in manual is because I use zone focusing. So in street photography, you have events that is happening very quickly, faster than what you can anticipate. So it takes a lot of time for you to take the camera, point it at a subject, focus, and then click. So within this time you may actually lose the action. So zone focusing is a technique where you predetermine as to in what range you want the focus to be in. So if any subject is between that range, they would be in focus. So the X100V does give us that option. So if you look at this here at the bottom bar, that is the distance. So yeah, so if I move the aperture ring, you can see a blue line which is also moving. Now what that tells me is the range of focus that I would be having at this particular aperture. So if I am at aperture f8, which I am in right now, now when I rotate my focus ring, which is this, when I rotate my focus ring, this blue line also moves. So currently it tells me that I would have, if a subject is between 3 meters to 5 meters, then that subject would be in acceptable focus. Now depending on the kind of pictures that I'm going to take, I will have a fair idea of where I want to place my subjects. So if I am going to take a photo of a lot of people walking around quite close to me, then I would set the focus to probably between 1.5 meters to 2 meters, or between 2 to 3. Or if I'm going to take subjects which are where I'm anticipating them to be a little further away, then I would put the focus ring to somewhere around 30 to 50. Or if they are further away, then 50 to 10 meters or to infinity. So once you have set this up, so there has to be some level of planning that you need to do for street photography. So if you've kind of gone with an objective and you figure out, okay, this is the kind of pictures that I'm planning to take, so I set this up with the settings that I told you, and then I don't need to think about anything, and I can the moment I see a scene where I need to take a picture, I don't need to worry about any setting. I can just keep clicking the shutter button and capture all the fleeting instances that happen. This camera is also weatherproof, except for this part, because this part comes out and goes in to a small extent when you're focusing. So if you want this camera to be completely weatherproof, then you can remove this and you can buy Fuji's ring, or you can buy a third-party ring which is much cheaper than Fuji's, and then you can put a glass over here, an ultraviolet a UV protection glass you can put, so that will make this camera completely weatherproof. So this being primarily for street photography, the camera can accumulate a lot of dust and you may go out in the rain, so it is wise that you actually protect this element also, so you don't need to worry about the elements of the nature. And another great thing which people love about Fuji cameras is its film simulation, which comes very close to the earlier film style prints that we used to get. So this film simulation gets applied only to your JPEG. If you're shooting RAW, it does not get applied. So usually when I'm doing street photography, I actually put it for both. I enable RAW as well as JPEG, so that the RAW is more like a backup in case I screw up on the film simulation or on the exposure. Then I can always go and rework on the RAW. So there are many film simulations available here. I will tell you specifically what I use, and I will also show you some of the pictures that I've taken from these simulations. So mostly I use across in across I use the R filter. This gives you a very good black and white high contrast image with a little bit of grains. So I use across primarily when I want to bring in dark contrasts in black and white photography. And this is like my go-to simulation most of the time. And the other simulation that I use is the classic chrome. So classic chromes gives a very soft color, and it enhances the contrast in the shadow. So I use this when I see my subject having a bright yellow or a green or a red color, and I do not want to emphasize on the color but on the subject, but I still want the color to appear a little subdued. So that is when I use the classic chrome. So it gives it kind of dulls the color beautifully, and it still conveys the information that you want the picture to convey. So I use classic chrome in those setups with when these colors are in play. The other simulation which I use is Vivid. Vivid gives you it pops out the colors and makes it very bright. So when I do probably landscape photography of a particular nature where I want the colors to pop out, then I use Vivid. The other one that I use when I don't know what simulation I would need, the default one that I would fall to would be Provia. So this is ideal for a wide range of subjects and gives you a decent simulation. So before I start the street photography, before I go out, I kind of decide on what kind of simulation that I would need, and I would set up these custom functions for it. So typically, mostly if you look at it, I either do across or I fall back to classic chrome. and sometimes vivid. So these are the three simulations that I keep switching over. And you also have an option, if you have taken images only in RAW, you have an option to apply these simulations to the RAW file when you're using Capture One or Lightroom or any of the editing software. So you are not lost if you haven't selected the right simulation. So I will show you a couple of photos which I have taken in the simulation, so that will kind of give you a fair idea on how I am using these simulations. If you like this video, do like and share. If you would like me to cover anything in detail on this topic, then please leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. Thank you.